Gospel of Luke, chapter 12, verses 22 to 34. He said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body is more than clothing. Consider the ravens. They neither sow nor reap. They have neither storehouse nor barn, and yet God feeds them. Of how much more value are you than the birds? And can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your span of life? If then you are not able to do so small a thing as that, why do you worry about the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not clothed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is alive today and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O thee of little faith? And do not keep striving for what you are to eat and what you are to drink, and do not keep worrying. For it is the nations of the world that strive after these things, and your Father knows you need them. Instead, strive for his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well. Do not be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give alms. Make purses for yourselves that do not wear out, an unfailing treasure in heaven, where no thief comes near, nor no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." May God bless this reading.
I wanted to share this. Somebody had this made for me a couple of years ago. Can you see what it says? This is handmade. This is one of one. It says, "It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." This hangs over my desk, so I remember it every single day. It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Will you say that with me? It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And say to the person next to you, "And you too." And say to me, "And you too, RCA." Because, even the people up front need reminding, amen? Right, so we are at the beginning of a 7-week series, and I really love the topic because we really live in an abundant universe. And to me, it's very special that we're talking about it today because it's the 3 kings that we're celebrating, the time of Epiphany, and it's so important in so many cultures. The main gift giving happens now, not at Christmas time. In the U.S., it's all at Christmas, but in many other cultures, the big gift giving is around 3 Kings Day. And so today is about honoring the very abundance of God that is always available to us. So number 1, if you were taking notes today, I'm just getting right into it because we've got a lot to do. Number 1 would be true abundance. Say that with me. True abundance. For me, true abundance is very simple. It's the power to satisfy my needs and to make my dreams come true. The power to satisfy my needs and to make my dreams come true. Doesn't that sound like true abundance? So we live in this field of infinite possibility. We live in a field of infinite possibility, infinite abundance. And so we have to wonder, if we live in a field of infinite abundance, if God is everywhere present, why are there times that we're not experiencing that flow in our lives, that we're not experiencing that abundance in our lives? The reason is because we have not aligned our thoughts, our actions, our behaviors, our beliefs with the truth. So for all of us, we're beginning today this 7-week series so that we can help you jumpstart this consciousness. So rather than moving from a place of there's not enough, we want to move to a place of there's plenty for everyone. Right? Abundance is mine. because we live in a field of infinite possibility. We live in a field of abundance. The scriptures say it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And to me, this means the kingdom of spiritual consciousness. The scriptures say, seek ye first the kingdom, and what? All these things will be added to you as well. Right now, well, in my life, we've lived in a culture of what? Get, right? And it's really, it takes a little bit to switch into, well, what if we didn't worry about getting and the getting just happened because we were aligned with spiritual consciousness? So how that happens is the opposite of what we would think. Your ego wants to make you think, okay, you have to do this, do that, and get all you can and keep as much as you can, which of course is in fear and in constriction, right? But what's true is that to experience all that the universe has to offer, we have to become a giver to life. A giver to life in every area. In every area. And we've all known takers, right? There's folks that just take and take and take and take. And no matter how much you give them, it is never enough. I know where I'm in a room of givers because I know most of you pretty well. And if I don't know you yet, you better come up to me and tell me something about you. But I know where I'm in a room full of givers. You are givers to life. And so for so many of you, today is just going to be like an upgrade to what you're already doing. You're going to power up. You're going to power up to the new you. Because so many of us are saying what? New year, new me, man. New decade. 2020 vision. Let's roll, right? But then we've started the new year doing exactly the same old thing. So how are we going to get new year, new me, new decade just because the calendar changed if we're doing all the same old stuff? Right? So power up time to bring on the incredible spiritual energy that you have access to. And I'm going to give you a few ways to do it. But first, if you were taking notes, number one is what? True what? True abundance. Number two, I'm liking the word true, so I'm using that for number two. The true nature of money. Anytime I say abundance, because of the culture we live in, it's so capitalistic, we always think money. And money is certainly an aspect of abundance, but it's not all of what abundance is, obviously. I know because when I teach prosperity courses, I say, what is your greatest abundance? Every single hand goes up and says, family, the people I love. Nobody says my bank account, nobody. But what I've noticed is that how we are with money is very reflective of what we believe about God. I know this from working with thousands of people on this issue. So we want to know the true nature of money really is that money is a symbol. It's a symbol of value, right? What we collectively value. As a matter of fact, we help decide the markets. The markets don't decide us. We decide how the market goes up and down by what we value. Right? So money, we don't want to view money as there's not enough, because if we do, guess what the universe says? You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And I've had quite a journey with this myself. I mean, I certainly had a time where I remember thinking there is not enough. There's not enough time. There's not enough money. There's not enough love. Raise your hand if you've ever thought any of those things. You know, it's going to be all of us, right? And so we're learning to kind of unpack some of those old thoughts and go, wow, what's that? And how did that get there? And then we can change that, right? So really this 7-week series is about a consciousness shift from not enough, from lack or poverty to abundance, to prosperity. So there is enough. For years, I had to say, there is enough, even for me. Because I would say it for others, but I couldn't know it for myself. I even saw it finally in my book title, because I've written a book on prosperity called Prosperity for You, and I thought, but what about prosperity for me? Right? So I saw myself in not owning my own prosperity. See, so I teach this stuff, and I'm still learning all the time to really accept more of God's abundance in my life. So For all of us, we are receiving at the very level of our acceptance, no more, no less. Right? So we want to work with our consciousness. So rather than, if we believe not enough, money becomes a symbol then of not enough, rather than a symbol of abundance, which is what it's supposed to be. Right? So we want to move out of this not enough into there is enough. So money is meant to serve as a blessing and help us serve our needs. Money is meant to be shared. It's meant to be even invested. And it's meant to be used with a lot of love. And what I can tell you over the years as I've worked with people, billionaires and homeless, and I've known homeless people who are more prosperous than the billionaires because of their belief in substance, in God to provide. So it's not about how much. It's about the consciousness with which you hold and share and know true abundance in your life. Amen? All right. So I want you to say with me, abundance is mine. Together? Abundance is mine. Abundance is mine. So we want to be practicing then to move into the flow of life. And how do we move into the flow? Well, once again, we tend to separate ourselves from the flow. We say, well, the flow's over there. We say, I know there's abundance over there because I see other people having it and their lives seem to be working. What about, how come I haven't figured it out? Have you ever thought of stuff like that? All of us have. We think there's some magical river over there. If we could just get in it, all would be well. If I could just go dip in that river, my bills would be paid, life would be good, I would be happy, when in fact, the flow has been here all the time. So we don't want to move into the flow. Really, what we want to do is activate the flow of God's good in our lives. Say with me, I activate the flow of God's good. Together? I activate the flow of God's good. I thank you for forgiving me for that. That was just going to be way too long of an affirmation. Yeah. I activate the flow of God's good. One more time. I activate the flow of God's good. So one of the ways we do it is by committing to the practice, the commitment. It's so interesting. I'm doing so many things right now, and I was talking last service, and I'm still really mindful that so many of us, when I start really challenge you on something, the first thing we say, ego loves to hijack our greatness. We start to say, I don't have time. Don't we? We love to say that. But you have plenty of time to like things on Facebook. How is it? How is that? Huh? How is that? Plenty of time to know what everybody else ought to be doing. Plenty of time to talk to your friends about what everybody else ought to be doing. But no time for you. Well, we're going to change that. We're going to change that. And I'm going to tell you, I was really in that mindset of I'm too busy. That was mine. I'm too busy. Not I don't have time, but I'm too busy. And there was a few years ago where I just decided to completely drop that statement. It still will work its way in sometimes. And I have to, I must be having a lot going on, and I must not be connecting with Spirit, because when I'm too busy, that's all ego. Overwhelm is always the language of the ego. Makes us feel like we don't know what to do and what's next. But when I dropped that statement of I'm too busy, all of a sudden I had more time. I had more time. And so since I dropped that statement, I have written 4 books. Since I dropped that statement, I have started a podcast channel that has reached over 50,000 people in over 40 countries. How is that possible? I still run a vibrant spiritual ministry. But how is there time? How is there time? Because I believe there is. There is enough, even for me. I'm not too busy. I have all the same amount of time anybody else has. And how I use that time is up to me. How I use that time is up to me. And once I realized that, I was not a victim to what everybody else wanted. I was not a victim to a schedule. I created the schedule I had. There's enough. Say with me, there is enough. Together, there is enough. Even for me. If you need that, it's okay to say, even for me. Because often when we're big givers, we can see it for others. Sometimes we can't know it for ourselves, even for me. So how are we going to do? How do we move into the flow? Well, I'm going to ask you to make a commitment, and it is huge. Say with me, it is huge. Like that. It's huge. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, big. It's going to ruffle some feathers. I love doing that. One of my teachers in school said, your job as a minister is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Right? So we're all, me included, we all get real comfortable with where, what we're doing and where we're going. So I'm gonna ruffle some feathers on purpose. I am intentionally moving you out of your comfort zone. Hear that? I want you to be uncomfortable. I trust God enough in you to know your soul knows just what you need to do, when and how to do it, and that we're in a relationship here. And I wouldn't ask you to do anything that would be bad for you. And here's the deal. You have free choice. You can say, RCA, that's what people call me here, RCA, you've lost your mind. I'm not going to do that. And I would say, bless you. Let me know how it goes. Bless you and let me know how it goes. I am open to teaching. But what I can tell you is the things I'm going to tell you have not helped tens or hundreds or thousands, tens of thousands of things I'm telling you today. They've helped tens of thousands of people live better lives, be more financially prosperous, and have better relationships. Number one, take this down. Giving, giving to yourself 90 minutes of time every day. Uh-oh. I already hear a uh-oh. 90 minutes of time every day to work on your spiritual growth. It's like you're tithing to yourself every day to do 90 minutes of spiritual growth a day. Spiritual study, it can be prayers, it can be meditations, it can be guided visualizations. And the first thing you're going to say is what? I don't have what? You have all the time you need. You have all the time you need. Think about the last week, how much time have you been on Facebook and Netflix? And you don't have to say it out loud. Your phone will tell you now. Don't say it. You say, look at my percentage. It went up 50% from last week. Okay, so 90 minutes a day committed to your spiritual growth. 90 minutes a day. That's not 30, not 60. That's 90 minutes every day on your spiritual growth. And this sounds like a lot. I always do this. This is not that much. If you haven't been doing it, it sounds like a lot. Right? But you say you want new life, new you, new decade. Well, bring it. Ain't nobody going to do it but you. We can say, we say, God, I'm waiting. And God says, God, I'm waiting. You've got to show up for yourself in your process. 90 minutes a day is what I'm going to ask you to commit to of spiritual growth work. Reading, meditating, praying, journaling, even speaking about things spiritually. 90 minutes a day. It'll change your life. 90 minutes a day. You can do it. 90 minutes a day. You're worth that. The next one is one of my favorite. It is, and basically what we figured out is percentages of work time, percentages of sleep time. And so this one, most people have a 40-hour work week. So this one is about giving of your talent 4 hours a week. That's a tithe off your work week, right? Because you're already working, most of us, and we're just going to base it on a 40-hour work week. I know there are many in here who probably work 50 or 60 hours a week, but we're not going to base it on that. We want it to be manageable, and I think 4 hours a week is manageable. And as you are thinking about how you might use that 4 hours a week, I want to tell you a story. So years ago, when I was first at Unity of Phoenix, I was brought on to do the prayer chaplain program, and then after a year, I was going to start speaking. And as a year went by, there was no talk of me speaking. And I thought, okay, I'm going to really work on myself. I want to make sure when the time comes that I'm ready. So I contacted a speaking coach, and she's very well known. She works around the world with speakers, and she works with like CEOs, like of NASA, of these large corporations, and helping them really, you know, become better speakers. She has a whole program that she does. So I called her, and she watched me speak the first Sunday. I finally was able to speak. And Harold, will you hand me a piece of paper? And thank you. And so she was in the back now. I'm going to be her right this second. She was in the back watching me speak and do this. And you can imagine how I felt up front. I'm trying to give an inspiring message. And I felt like every mark I was getting cut down and down. So I went up to her at the end. Thank you. I went up to her at the end and I shook her hand. And she said, "Oh, I'm so glad you did that. I see who you are now. I see who you are now. Will you work with me?" She said, "I will, but first you need a new suit, honey. I hate to tell you." And I said, "I do? This is the nicest suit I have." She said, "You look like you're wearing your mother's suit. Find a tailor." And I thought, my gosh. I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Are you open to that?" I said, "Yes, ma'am. I'll go do that. I will absolutely go do that." She said, "Okay, I can work with you." So we set up an appointment. It was for 4 hours. This is why I'm telling you the story. It was 4 hours. She walked in. I was at the piano playing, and she goes, "Oh, okay. Now I get you." And I said, "Okay." So we began to work together. And we got to the end of the day. And I'll tell you, when I called her, I didn't know really exactly how I was going to afford it, but I thought, I know I need to do this. So I said, "So how much is it for half a day?" She said, "It's $500. That's my nonprofit rate." I said, "Okay." I got out the checkbook, and she said, "But I'm not charging you." That was her 4 hours. That was about 15 years ago. We're still in contact today. She's never accepted a penny. Isn't that incredible? A few years ago, I was going to be speaking and teaching for Unity Worldwide, and I was teaching inspirational speaking. And I called her. I said, "Chris, your material is so good. With your permission, I'd like to use it. Is there a fee?" She said, "For you?" I said, yeah, for me. I'm going to be teaching it." She said, "My gift." She has never let me. I tried to give her tithe checks. She sends them back. I've tried to pay her for her time. Nope. She said, "We are just supposed to do this, me and you." A few months ago, I was in Phoenix, and I saw her. It'd been the first time in about 10 years I'd seen her. Still connected as if no time had gone by. That was from 4 hours, one day, that she gave me as a gift. She gave it from her area of immense talent. She said, "I know what you're going to do with what I'm giving you. Feed the people." Feed the people. Still today, she gives me ideas. Still today. 15 years later. I've seen her in person maybe 4 times. But that 4 hours made a difference in the rest of my career. So how can you be that person for someone else? What 4 hours can you give a place? What 4 hours can you say, "Yeah, I want to make a difference right here"? It could be with our kids. It could be helping in the garden. It could be at an organization for people with disabilities. It could be teaching kids how to build something. Kids are so plugged in now, right? It could be anything. What's the way you want to spend 4 hours? Every week for 7 weeks. What is it? How can you make a difference? Sharing your talent says, "I'm worthy." Sharing your talent says to the universe, "I have something of value to give. And not only do I have something of value to give, I'm going to give it." And then the universe goes, "Oh, yeah, we've got a real giver here. Let's double it back." That's how it happens. See how you're the activator of the flow? Say, "Yes, ma'am." You are the activator of God's good. You activate the flow of God's good in your life by giving your time to your own spiritual growth, and then by giving your talent out to someone else in need, someone else you can support, someone else where you can make a difference. Okay, this last one is often the toughest, but really is the easiest. The last one is about giving 10% of your financial abundance to wherever you receive your spiritual food. And that can be anywhere. We love when you give it here. This is where 90% of my tithe goes here, sometimes 100%, often 100%. But over a year, I've figured out it's about 90%. And I give over 10%. I have given over 10% for over a decade. I usually give about 15%. Sometimes I give 20. If I get extra money, it's easily 20, 30, 40, 50%. Sometimes I give it all away. And it just comes right back. It comes right back. So, and you may be guided to give your tithe in a very unsuspecting place. I do encourage people, though, as they're giving, and again, this is from a lot of experience. Sometimes people will take little bits of their tithe and like spread it out all over. Well, then that's kind of how you're going to receive, is little dribs and drabs. I like to give big. I like to just put it all in. I just did that with a friend who's doing a startup. I just gave her a really unexpected gift. And we were both in tears, and it was like, I believe in you. I can say I support you, but the dollar's showing up. And that wasn't my tithe. That was a gift way over my tithe. That was today, and the last 2 days I've done nothing but receive. I couldn't help it. So the giving of your finances is the original idea behind a tithe. And I think so often the church has been really like, you have to give your tithe, and we're going to check your bills and all that. We're going to check your income. We're not that way here. I mean, that's just not the vibe. The idea is that we want to give you spiritual principles so your life works. And so when that happens, the church is always taken care of. I just know that. So the original idea behind a tithe is that, like in the biblical times, if you were a farmer, if you were in agriculture, you knew 100% was from God. So you gathered up the first fruits and you took them down to the temple to say, thank you. That's the idea of a tithe. Thank you. Thank you, universe. Thank you that I get to keep the 90%. Thank you for the 100%. I want to give 10 back. And of course, the first recorded tithe is in the book of Genesis, where Abraham tithed to his spiritual teacher, Melchizedek. That was the first recorded tithe. So it's been done for, millennia. Giving back your first fruits. It's an acknowledgement. It's a gratitude. Thank you. And what we know is when we acknowledge source with our first fruits, we're preparing ourselves to receive more. So it becomes this beautiful cycle of abundance and growth and expansion as we experience in our financial life. So that's the spirit of tithing. The word tithe actually does mean 1/10. That's how we came up with that amount. But I over tithe because I never want to ask you to do anything I'm not doing and more. Anytime I ask you to do anything like this, I'm doing it with you and more. 90 minutes a day, I got it. Giving away my talent, I'm doing it. Tithing 10%, absolutely plus. On all those, plus, plus, plus. So, and what I know is life gets better when we're practicing spiritual principle. We create the flow of God's abundance in our lives by committing to the spiritual work, by having the discipline of the spiritual practice. 90 minutes a day on my spiritual growth, 4 hours a week I'm giving away, and giving 10% of all that I earn to the place of my spiritual food. And I love to give here because I'm lifted up by this music team every week. Because my son right now is over in a Sunday school. And in that Sunday school, he's not told he's evil. He's told he's good. He's told that God loves him and God is inside him. And that's going to help him for the rest of his life. If that's all I received here, it would be worth every penny of my tithe. Every penny. So, this is about you and your process. If you don't feel ready to do one of these, just up where you are. Up where you are. The people who've been doing this work a long time are going to say, yes, I'm going to do this. I know that. Not everybody's ready. Whatever level you are, take yourself up a notch and see if you see a difference. Remember that wherever you are on the walk, wherever you are in your life, it is according to your level of acceptance by the consciousness you have created in you to receive. And as you give to life, you open the floodgates for God's flow to be manifest in your life. Amen?